Ever buy a $5 coffee and feel a tiny bit guilty? Like some financial advisor is shaking their head at you? Here's the thing. That guilt is a lie that they sold you. Because the math isn't lattes versus down payments. The math is home prices are up over 31% since 2019 and your latte has nothing to do with it. We're talking about a system that made starter homes so expensive that saving just feels pointless. And today I'm showing you exactly why Gen Z stopped playing the game. And what happens to all of us if they don't come back? Before we move on, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Picture a total average house, 3 bedrooms, 1.5 bathrooms. A backyard that's basically just a rectangle of anxiety. In 2019, that house was annoying to afford. Today, it might literally cost more than a small business. So what happened? Here's the thing. Home prices shot up over 31% since 2019. That's not a typo. The median house price jumped from $320,000 to over $410,000. And it didn't happen because houses got better. Your future starter home still has popcorn ceilings and a furnace that sounds like a dying whale. The price went up. The house stayed the same. But here's what nobody tells you about the rate thing. When mortgage rates were sitting at 4%, a $350,000 home had a monthly payment that hurt, but it didn't break you. Now those rates are above 6%. Run that math. And that same house is costing you $800 more every single month. Every single month for 30 years. That's not a mortgage, that's a hostage situation with a welcome mat. And it's not just a mortgage eating you alive, rentals are up too, groceries, car insurance, property taxes in a lot of states are basically a second rent payment at this point. The Atlanta Fed actually tracks how much of your income goes straight to housing costs. And in 2019 it was around 30%. Right now, 48%. Almost half of your paycheck just gone. Let that sink in for a minute. So you're trying to build up a down payment while rent is already draining your account every month? The average monthly mortgage repayment has climbed to $2,800 and a huge chunk of households can't even qualify for a $400,000 home at these rates. The math ain't mathin' and the bank knows it. And the down payment itself on a median house price home right now is between $60,000 to $80,000 depending on where you live. That's not a down payment. That's a number that makes you close the Zillow app and go lie down for a second. Now let's look at inventory, because this part gets wild. A lot of markets, the few homes that existed, any kind of affordable range get absolutely swarmed. Bidding wars, cash offers, and you're not competing with other broke 28-year-olds scraping their savings together. You're competing with LLCs buying up starter homes in bulk to flip into rentals. A hedge fund spreadsheet doesn't have emotions. It doesn't care that you've been saving for 4 months. It just wins. But here's the catch. Even when a few more homes start hitting the market, prices don't budge. Because people who locked in at 3%, they're not going to sell. Why would they? They'd be trading a 3% rate for a 6.5% rate on their next property. So they just stay put. Inventory stays low. And then you're just standing outside in the cold, watching the same 12 houses sit on the market at prices that just make no sense. So how did rates go from under 4% to over 6.5% in the first place? Pandemic spending pumped money into the economy. Supply chains broke down. Inflation went crazy. The Fed hiked rates hard to cool it off, and mortgage rates followed right along. The same policies that kept people financially alive during COVID flipped around and made buying a home after COVID feel like a punishment for surviving it. And that's just the big macro stuff. The giant invisible forces crushing the market from above. Because there's a whole other layer underneath all of this that's honestly even more maddening, and it's got nothing to do with interest rates at all. So here's a term that's been floating around, and sit with this for a while. Financial nihilism. It sounds like something a philosophy professor would say while sipping bad wine at a faculty meeting, but it's really just a fancy way of describing what a lot of Gen Z and young millennials are doing right now, which is looking at the housing market and looking at the bank account and going, yeah, no thanks. The median age of a first-time home buyer is creeping towards 38 years old. 38! That used to be the age where you were already refinancing your second home and having an opinion on granite countertops. Now it's when you're maybe, possibly, if everything goes perfectly well, buying your first home. Let that sink in. And the delay isn't just a wait for rates to drop a little bit. It's way deeper. More than half of younger buyers say that student debt pushed back when they couldn't even think about buying. You graduate, you owe 40 grand or 80 grand or more. And lenders look at that debt to income ratio and they basically laugh at your pre-approval application. Not out loud, but you know, you can feel it. But here's the catch that no one in finance wants to say out loud. When saving feels pointless, when you need to grind for a literal decade to hit a down payment while your rent is going up every single year, your brain starts doing something totally rational. It stops planning for the future and starts planning for right now, today, this weekend. So yeah, you buy the coffee, you book the trip, you spend money on things that make your life feel actually livable today. Because the reward for skipping all that, the house, the equity, the stability, it feels like it's behind a locked door that's just getting pushed down the hall every time you get close. And it shows up in how people invest as well. Research shows that Gen Z is way more likely to throw money into cryptocurrency and stocks when normal wealth building is just totally out of reach. And that's not stupid. It's a pretty logical response to a broken system. Why grind towards something that might genuinely never happen? The work piece it's real too. The younger people are pulling back on the extra hours, the side hustles, the overtime shifts, not because these people are lazy, but because the math just doesn't work anymore. Work harder, make a little more money, watch rent eat all of that, and then repeat it forever. And the idea that extra effort gets you closer to owning a home is almost funny when prices are lapping wages by that much. And this is the quiet quit of the housing market. It's not dramatic. It's not a protest with signs or matching t-shirts. Just a slow, exhausted walk away from a game that feels completely rigged. And honestly, you can totally see why. It's not a vibe. It's not laziness either. It's a rational response to a system where nearly half of your income disappears into housing costs. Student debt wrecks your borrowing profile before you even get started. And the starter home your parents bought for 120 grand is now sitting on Zillow at 380 grand. A Pew Research study found that over a quarter of Americans are already spending more than 50% of their income on housing. More than half of that gone. When the math ain't mathing, people stop doing the math. But this isn't just a personal finance moment for one generation, because when an entire generation delays or skips home ownership, the fallout hits everyone, and it's going to hit in ways that most people aren't even thinking about yet. Here's the real gut punch. Home ownership isn't just a roof. It's how regular families in America have built wealth for generations. Your parents' home equity paid for college, covered retirement, maybe even helped fund your down payment someday. And the National Associations of Home Builders found roughly 70% of American households cannot afford a 400 grand home. While the median sale price right now sits at $420,000, when a whole generation delays that by 10 or 15 years, the wealth chain just breaks. The gap between people who own and people who rent gets wider and wider every single year. So the next time someone gives you grief about the latte, just remind them, the latte is not the problem. A system that turned a normal house into an unattainable asset is. Drop a comment where you're at with all this. Are you buying? Are you renting? What's your situation? Or have you quit the whole dream of buying a home? Next video, I'm going to get into the markets of where things are actually shifting and what younger buyers can realistically do right now. Until next time, see you on the next one.